So I have to ask,
Yeah.
you're heading back to school?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in thinking about going back to school, starting the new year, what are your exposures
Mm-hmm.
that you might need to take on?
Yeah.
Because, anxiety is always there, and at times of change or,
Yeah.
starting up against something, we know it's going to rear its little ugly head a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, whenever I think about how college is designed and what the experiences is like as a student, it's really optimized for avoidance. Like you don't have to go to lecture, you don't have to eat in the cafeteria, you don't have to make friends. Like none of those things are forced upon you. Like they might be in high school where if you're not in the cafeteria, like you're getting detention because you don't have a hall pass. Or if you're not in class, like they're calling your parents like, where is this child? And so in college, you're in this new environment where if you are by nature social and extroverted and passionate about your academics, you're like, great, this is perfect. I'm doing all this. But if you even have a little bit of that anxiety, the avoidance is really easy. And there's not a lot of structures in place to hold you accountable. And so that's where things like exposure come in, where when you have those almost like tiny cues and whisperings of like, oh, I don't love that, or it's anxiety provoking to go into a new class and not know who's going to be in there, or I have to go and I have to eat, so I have to go to the cafeteria, but am I going to have anyone to sit with? Will I see anyone that I know? Can I ask for these people's phone numbers so we can set up a time later to get lunch or something like that? Like all those things are very anxiety provoking. And if you don't do them, you set yourself up in a tough position where you're not surrounded by other individuals, and relationships are really key to being able to be successful, and your family's at home. So there's all these things that make doing these anxiety provoking things really important. And so when you notice you have that anxiety and it's telling you to avoid, you can kind of do as much as possible to make yourself go towards that avoidance.
Well, let me ask you, what tells you you're getting anxious about a situation? What are the signals, whether they're cognitive, physiological, somatic? What tells you this is something that I'm concerned about?
I think one of the easiest ones is just being like, do I want to do this? And if the answer is I'd rather not, then there's probably some emotion.
So a thought.
Yeah, there's some emotion that's like, that's uncomfortable. And maybe it's like shame, maybe it's fear, maybe it's whatever it is that's causing that emotion. If I would rather not by default, is probably some level of avoidance going on there. And then there's also the things of like, there's butterflies in your stomach. It's a little bit harder to
physiological,
breathe.
somatic symptoms.
Maybe your hands are shaking a little bit. But I would say that a lot of it is the thoughts. And at first, like the easiest one is just, do I want to do this? Yes or no? And then there's the thoughts of like, what if this doesn't go well? What if they don't want to be friends with me? What if my professor does not want to answer all my questions and they say that the things I'm confused about are really dumb? Like there's all those thoughts that will go
what
on.
Ifs,
but like the freebie of like, okay, there's avoidance here tends to be, do I want to do this or not? And then you can kind of go from there.
What's the hierarchy around class stuff? So what's a hierarchy for you as you're heading in to this fall? What do you think you might work on?
I would say there are two things that tend to cause the most anxiety. And one of them would be what you described with the professor. Because by design, you're in a lecture hall with like 100 people and you were learning so much at such a quick pace. And maybe like the second thing they say, you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And then you have to go to office hours and be like, I know you just elaborated on this very basic point, but I don't even understand that. So I don't understand anything else you said. And yes, I was sitting there for the whole lecture, but none of it made sense to me. And no, I didn't raise my hand in front of everyone to ask, even though maybe that would have been more effective. And everyone else seems to get it except for me. So I probably shouldn't even be asking the question in the first place. So it's kind of like that mental process of like, it's really hard to ask for help and clarify questions when it doesn't seem like anyone else is struggling. And then the other thing that definitely causes anxiety is, I think, a very universal experience, which is making new friends and continuing to build relationships. Because unlike high school where you're in the same class with a few people and you're seeing them all the time every day, you probably have classes with different random people within your 2,000 person grade every single day. You're living different places on campus. You don't all have lunch together. And so you have to do more to introduce yourself to new people, continue to build those relationships, and then maintain them as well.
Very good. Yeah. First of all, I just want to say, I wish you were one of my students when I was teaching at a college, because I'd be delighted to have you in office hours.